Listen, let's not talk about Alex Jones. Let's talk about you. Man, I got to tell you, the energy when I normally come to D.C. maybe once a year to analyze what's going on is evil. It's twisted. It's oppressive. It's destructive. But at these last 3 rallies, when hundreds of thousands and millions of patriots from every race, color, and creed come together, the energy is the best energy I've ever found. People ask, man, are you on drugs? How do you get so excited on air? Why do you have so much energy? Because the animating contest of liberty that Thomas Jefferson talked about is an animating contest of liberty. And so there are great rallies happening all over this swamp right now. And the globalists have tried to brainwash and gaslight the public, but it's not worked. And everything they do is backfiring on them. They're playing checkers, we're playing beyond chess. When they make their one move, when they try to steal an election, or they engage in criminal activity, they have that effect. But the second, third, and fourth, and fifth move, everything they do falls apart. Everything they touch disintegrates. So understand this. The attack on America is bigger than Donald Trump. It's bigger than all of you individually. It's the true story of America and the idea of liberty against all the different tyrannies in the world. And it's not that we're perfect, but we've given the greatest example of empowering humanity. So this struggle we're in is an ongoing struggle that God has put us in to test us, and God is on our side, and incredible things are coming. A lot of horribly evil things are happening as well. And the children cry out to God for justice and for defense. And make no mistake, the spirit, the energy that's brought you here today from all over the country is the spirit and is the energy that is going to turn the tide of this satanic world government forever. We look at the sick, evil venom of the system trying to divide us on race and on culture and on where we're from, because they want to use that against us and divide us. But we are unified by God. Amen. And we're unified by our red blood that we share, and our unity and our understanding and our interfacing with God's great truths. And we are stronger now than we've ever been. You look at the Satanists that run this system, and they are in fear. They are grasping at straws as the sand goes through the hourglass, because they denied God, they denied their birthright, and they sold it out for nothing, but we didn't. So never forget, no matter how bad it gets, this is the beginning of the end of the New World Order. We're no longer in the beginning of the beginning. We're now in the beginning of the end. And 10 years from now, mark my words, we're going to be in the firestorm. But they can't get your soul, so don't be in fear. Your soul's already with God forever. You've got free will, and you made that decision. So fear not the world and the Antichrist, because you are with Christ. Now I'm a radio talk show host, and I'm a Texan, and I'm a parent, and I love God. People ask me, Jones, why do you only preach now? Because the evil's out in the open, and there are no atheists in foxholes, and we are facing Satan. And the answer to Satan's 1984 is George Washington's 1776. So this is the great testing. God gave us free will, and they're going to try to tell us, oh, there's no evidence of criminality. There's no evidence of fraud anywhere. Now they say, well, there's no widespread coordinated. Because if you're going to bust all our people, catching them red-handed, stealing the elections in Georgia, and Pennsylvania, and Michigan, and Wisconsin, and Arizona, and on, then they all did it on their own, but that doesn't matter. So they take that Trump hour-long phone call and act like he's done something wrong. If anything, he wasn't hardcore enough. He gave them an example of hundreds of thousands of votes they know went for Trump that were stolen. So he says it should be easy for you to find the 11,000. That's not telling him make up an 11,000. That's saying we got 500,000 votes here. Your job's damn easy to find 11,000. But that's what these devils do, is they twist everything we say and they turn it around against us, but it's not going to work. And I'm going to tell you something else. I say trust in the plan, God's plan. Trust in God. And yes, support President Trump, because regardless of what happens in 15 days as they try to inaugurate that communist Chinese agent, America and the world is awakening to this great oppression and this great evil. And so, unlike the poor folks in Russia and China that never had a really good shot at liberty and had the globalists put tyranny in over them, here in America, we have a very good chance of defeating this very, very quickly. But regardless of how bad it gets, submitting only makes it worse. That's why I want you to commit to total resistance. Total resistance to the globalists. Never give in, never back down, never even think about surrender. Don't think about fighting tyranny as hard. Think about it as like breathing into your lungs and life, and the more you do it, the more you want it, and that's the spirit of victory. We are going to be victorious over the globalists. And the number one thing to do after we put our trust in God is to expose the UN and the globalists, because they run the whole thing. Not Joe Biden, not Xi Jinping, but Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and the globalists are the parasites that are enslaving China and enslaving Europe and enslaving Africa and enslaving all the rest of the world. And as soon as we start calling out the COVID-19 hoax lockdown, and as soon as we start exposing the Great Reset, the sooner these globalists start going to prison. So understand that, my friends. It is a fight between good and evil, and you know that. And the CDC's own numbers, there's no coverage of this. The CDC's own numbers came out 2 days ago from 2020. In 2020, there were 61,000 more deaths than 2019. If you add population increase, and if you add the increase in suicide and drug overdoses, there were less deaths in 2020 than there was in 2019. The COVID hoax is broken. But the only way the COVID hoax is completely broken is if you get that truth, and if you get that information, and you get that out. Big tech is trying to suppress you. Big tech is trying to block you. Big tech is trying to keep you from communicating with each other. So you do it by word of mouth and by email and by calling into talk radio, and you do it by speaking up at church, and you do it by printing out the facts, and you never surrender. Because every mind you touch, every person you awaken is millions of people we're going to save, because the globalists admit a shutdown for another 6 months in the West will kill tens of millions in the third world. When the first world collapses, the third world dies. And this is a giant attempt at killing civilization and a mass abortion of children that are already born, who are the main victims of malnutrition and starvation. So never forget, when the left tells you wear a mask, have courage, stand up, be respectful. That's a sign of your slavery. That is a sign of your medical Sharia law and tyranny, and you must declare independence against the fear now. Now, I know Roger Stones, he checked in the same hotel as I. He's on his way down here to give you a powerful speech, and then later tonight down at Freedom Plaza. But I love you all, and I appreciate you all, and I just want you to know that you are the answer to tyranny. You are the answer. You are 1776. 1776.
All right, guys, let's give it up for Alex Jones. My name is Matt Shannon. Up next, we have a good friend of mine, the political consultant, been on the ground for many years, original Trump supporter, Alex Bruzewicz with X Strategies.
I want to interview him. I think this is a terrible thing.
בוא נלך אליו. תן לי רגע. אלכס. Sorry.
And that means I love him. So God bless you, Alex.
Lord bless you.
Alex. Alex, Israeli television, live. Can I ask you a question for Israeli television? Live.
That's what I was doing. Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir. People in...
Take your time. Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. Let's do it
Understand,
normal.
take your time. Let's go there real quick.
תרים את הגובה. 1 minute. Wait, I'll turn around. Okay.
Mike, you're on the other side, man.
There we go. Okay, are we cool now? Okay. There you go. פה, תיזהר מהכבל. תחזיק את הכבל הזה.
Alex, you say hi to those who serve?
כתף, בדיוק.
God bless you, man.
Okay. Alex, I want to ask you first of all, when you say that we will not surrender, what do you mean?
Not surrender to world government, not surrender to the destruction of our cultures, not surrender to the satanic leftist garbage that seeks to overthrow our families and our religious beliefs and our connection to God, and that we're aware of their New World Order plan, and that we are totally setting ourselves against it, not out of hatred, but out of love for our own families and God.
People in Israel are watching, and Israel, as you know, is the biggest ally of America, and America is the biggest ally of us. We're thankful for President Trump to do the Abraham Peace Accords and everything, but, you know, people in Israel are very confused. The American media is telling us one story. The alternatives are telling us a different story. Can you tell us from your perspective, how do you see the situation and how fragile it is right now within America?
Judge a tree by its fruits. President Trump is a friend of sovereign nations, a friend of Israel, a friend of capitalism, a friend of prosperity, and a friend of real peace. And he helped bring real peace in the Middle East, actually brokering real deals. And the power structure globally wants turmoil and destabilization. That's why they want to get rid of Trump, because he's a peacemaker, not a war maker.
Are you really worried about the influence of China into America if Biden will be sworn in?
Biden's a total communist Chinese agent that oppresses their own people. Apple owns slave camps in China. Big tech is evil. They're not liberal. They're authoritarians, and they're partnering with every type of oppressive system. So absolutely, communist China is the model for the global social credit score, the COVID tracking systems. All of this is a planetary corporate takeover with communist China as the engine.
Mm-hmm. Last question. What do you see that will happen on tomorrow in the electoral college vote, and who's going to be sworn in as president, from your perspective and from your knowledge?
They're trying to install Biden. I'd say about a 70% chance they're able to get Biden in.
70%?
Yeah, a lot of people are wanting to tell you, oh, it's invincible, Trump's going to win. There's total evidence of fraud. Mm-hmm. They've got a lot of senators, but not enough to have over 51 or over 50, and they don't have control of the House, even though they got a very slim increase. So the Republicans almost control the House. They barely control the Senate. And so it's a razor's edge. A lot of senators are cowards. Josh Hawley and others are great patriots. Ted Cruz is a great patriot. Yeah. And regardless, he's a communist Chinese agent, Joe Biden. So we have to move for his impeachment. If he does get in, Trump should never concede but say, you've sold the fraud. I exhausted the courts and Congress if that happens. Step back and really be the president in absentia or the president in exile to lead a populist movement like Andrew Jackson did when they stole the election from him.
So you think President Trump will be a president in exile? That's what you're saying?
I think that he is our president in all the battleground states. Mm-hmm. He went from winning by half a point or a point to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Yeah. So he doubled and tripled his margin. He totally won. They froze it. They brought in the ballots. We all saw the same fraud in those states. And so he cannot accept it. We do not accept it. We're not going to have a civil war. We're not going to burn stuff down like the left or the communists, but we are going to have the states not go along with it. I hope President Trump continues to be president, rallies against it, and is basically the real president from Florida, and because he can't concede to the fraud. And in a way, it's going to backfire on him even bigger. But so much evidence is coming out. He's presenting so much evidence. They may get enough votes in the Senate and then have that 10-day emergency hearing, 10-day emergency audit that Ted Cruz talked about. Then if America sees all the evidence the senators have seen, that I've seen, that the news won't show you, that big tech's blacked out, then we will be able to show the world, we'll have a cathartic experience, and then President Trump, that they will overturn those states and probably have a re-election, because it'll look like he's to some he's stealing it. So we'll have another election in those 5 states.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Jones. Appreciate it. God bless America. Thank you.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you. Thank you for talking about warfighter spirit and never giving up and never
God
quitting.
bless you,
Yeah.
brother.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. בבקשה, שמעתם במו אוזניכם, אלק ג'ונס, בעלים של אינפו-וורס, אחד מאתרי החדשות האלטרנטיביים הכי גדולים כאן באמריקה, אומר 70% שג'ו ביידן יושבע ב-20, הוא אומר 70%, והוא גם אמר, גם אם דונלד טראמפ לא יצליח לכהן כנשיא, הוא יהיה הנשיא שלנו בגלות. שמעתם? פעם ראשונה, אני חושב שזאת כותרת. אלק ג'ונס, נציג של המפלגה הרפובליקנית, אדם מאוד מאוד מוערך כאן, גם על ידי דונלד טראמפ וגם על ידי הרפובליקנים, הבעלים של תוכנית רדיו ואתר אינטרנט מאוד מאוד מפורסם כאן, אינפו-וורס, אומר, גם אם דונלד טראמפ לא יושבע ב-20 לינואר בתור הנשיא, הוא יהיה הנשיא שלנו בגלות. The president in exile, זה בדיוק מה שהוא אמר. אני רונן מדווח לכם מוושינגטון, כותרות לא מפסיקות להגיע בכל רגע, אנחנו נמשיך ונעדכן בהמשך.
Excuse me, sir. 2 important people to interview and the CCP. These are documentary filmmaker.
From China. Okay.
Yeah, and I can help translate. I'll give you the information on the documentary. We're winning awards. Before I do that, though, I'm going to give you this right here. I'm not going to give it to you, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about me later. This is Pence.
We're live right now, okay?
That's fine. Live is fine.
Yeah.
Pence, you know one thing. Wabash College, #1 donor sent me out here. He knows what I have on this disc. I'm founder of a tech company. I'm not Bill Gates. I might even be more important than Bill Gates. I'm like kind of a ghost under the radar there. Okay, we've been working on election software for 3 years with Smartmatic Dominion. We've been inside all the meetings. This guy doesn't have all the information. All the information obviously is not on this disc. I would not risk that. But we do have everything on the USB. Pence, if you don't do the right thing, you'll never be elected president anymore because your donors know what's on this. Okay? The rhinos know what's on this. Republicans, Democrats know how infested the CCP is. You're in the ecosystem of the CCP. I'm not part of any organization. I've written assessments all my life. Okay, you can go to Twitter at Truth in Content. That's truth and then in content. I exposed myself just the other day.
So who are the ladies here?
I'm going to introduce you. I vetted these folks. I had to vet them. I took them to Annapolis to see where they were at and what they do. They're part of Falun Gong persecution. Okay, this was the identifier for Americans to understand what the CCP's been doing since 1999. I had no clue.
So wait, do you speak English?
I speak some English. My name is Stephanie.
Thank you, sir. What is your name?
My name is Scott Shields.
Scott Shields. Pleasure to meet you.
My friend.
Thank you. Okay, so you came from China to America. When did you arrive here, and why did you come here?
I came 1987.
Yeah.
She doesn't speak English, but I can tell her 她问什么时候你来在美国
2010年
And what information do you have regarding the influence of the CCP in America and in the American election?
Yeah, we came from the communism country. And my family member who is practiced Falun Gong and been jailed for 4 years and 1 year labor camp, and she almost persecuted and died. So we came from the communism country. We know how evil the CCP are. And my friend, her name is Yifei Wang. And her sister being persecuted and died in age 34, and her body is still there, and now it's almost 20 years.
Okay,
And
thank you so much.
We had
Thank
a
you.
documentary just coming out, talk about her family story called Finding Courage. People want to go to see the
so much. רחקו רגע, יש כאן עדכון. כן, אני שומע, אבל אני בשידור חי, אז תגיד לי מהר. כן, אני שומע אותך, רק אני בשידור חי, אז דבר מהר. יש חדש? עם האיש שנחת? אוקיי, תעדכן אותי, ביי. אוקיי, כרגע קיבלנו עדכון שעוד חצי שעה אנחנו נקבל עוד מידע לגבי האיש שנחת, הבנתי בשעה האחרונה, מאיטליה, כאן בוושינגטון. הוא נחת בדרכו לבית הלבן לפגישה עם דונלד טראמפ. אני בקשר עם מישהו שיש לו מידע, הבנתי שעוד חצי שעה לנו עוד מידע, כמובן נשתף אתכם. עכשיו אנחנו יורדים קצת מהשידור, להטעין סוללות, לחבר את המשדר שלנו. זה היה רעיון בלעדי. גם אם טראמפ לא יהפוך להיות הנשיא המכהן, הוא יהיה הנשיא שלנו בגלות. אני לא חושב שאי פעם מונחים כאלה בארצות הברית. מעניין מאוד יהיה לראות. דבר נוסף שהוא אמר, לא תהיה מלחמת אזרחים. הוא אמר את זה, לא תהיה מלחמת אזרחים. כולנו נצטרך לחכות ולראות מה כן יהיה. אני רונן, מדווח אליכם מוושינגטון. אנחנו נחזור לדווח בשידור חי נוסף עם עדכונים מן השטח ועם מידע חדש לגבי אותו אדם שהגיע לפני שעה קלה בטיסה פרטית, במטוס פרטי מאיטליה, בדרכו לחדר הסגלגל לפגוש את הנשיא דונלד טראמפ, כשיש בידיו, כך נאמר לנו, את הוכחת הזהב שאמורה להיות מוצגת מחר בקונגרס. פרטים נוספים לגבי העדכון הזה בלעדי בפרספקטיבה, בערך בעוד שעה נעלה בלייב נוסף עם יותר פרטים. אני רונן מוושינגטון, מדווח לכם לפרספקטיבה. תודה רבה והמשך יום מצוין.
Do you have a card, sir?